Welcome, everyone. This is Illiterate. This week we are covering Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. I've been checking out all the Black Panther content. I'm hanging out with my buddy Taylor. Taylor, how are you?
Good. I found the real Wakanda.
Oh my god. Oh, I can't wait to get into this today. The state of Wakanda finds themselves in a place of influx after the sudden death of King T'Challa. So us as creatives, this is a fascinating episode of a giant IP with a set trajectory, a written sequel, and suddenly they have to pivot. They have to pivot in the most gut-wrenching way. They pivot in a way that is core to the story itself. So this is, from our perspective, and that's what we do here. We're getting down to the root of where things come from, why things come from, what are we inspired by that led to what we see on the screen. This is a really particular situation. So I'm really fascinated to get into the development of Wakanda Forever.
Why don't we start with the comic from a long time ago, and then build
ages
up
ago,
to
long
this.
before the time of Sigourney Weaver.
Long before. July 1966. He is the first African superhero in mainstream comics.
Wow.
As was the custom, didn't have his own thing yet, appeared in Fantastic Four number 52. The name Black Panther, we covered Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yes.
This predates that because this was in July and the Black Panther Party coalesced in October of 66.
Whoa.
Yeah,
oh my god!
So it's not based on that.
But, I was cool with them emerging at the same time, and I saw that, on a date level, going like, yeah, okay, yeah, not the way I thought it was in my head.
Yeah. The original concept art, though, by Jack Kirby, this is just the way Marvel was. They're batting around names left and right. So Cole Tiger was on one of the things. It's like there wasn't really a strong conviction.
Silver Lion.
Yeah.
That's great, Ed. Write it down.
Around it, exactly. Yeah. So the origins, though, of who came up with this, because of course, and I think even in the Justice League episode, the Stan Lee stuff, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby are all over each other saying who did what. And so they both claim sole credit, although with the process that they had, it seems like Kirby was really doing most of the plots and organizing, and Stan Lee is just lightly editing after, where he's like, I've got a character called Dr. Doom, figure out everything, and then gets all because he's the voice and face of it. So that's probably
like people yelling at each other from across the room just to box each other out of whatever idea is coming up.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
I'm on this one. I'm on this one. I'm on this one. Well, I'm on this one.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Stan Lee is the face of it all, so he gets.
It's also funny to have two people showing up that they deserve sole credit.
Yeah. You work together.
No. I bought each. Just from a judge's perspective, I'm just thinking in a cartoon court of law, just like two people saying that they alone did one thing. I feel like there's another story.
And with comics, it's so interwoven. So like the character as well just bops around, as is the custom again with this. So he's in Avengers, and then he's in the Daredevil line, and he's in Captain America, and he doesn't get his own thing until 73. And so almost, but some fun stuff because the comics were wacky and just doing whatever they wanted. There's a time where he leaves Wakanda, goes to America because all the other superheroes are in New York City. And so he takes this moniker, Luke Charles, and moonlights, or I guess daylights, as a high school teacher, which just makes absolutely no sense. I mean, they don't even really know who the character is or what they're doing. And so that's his cover.
He has his own like stand and deliver arc,
I guess,
in New York,
as one of the Avengers. Yeah,
we have to stand by these kids.
Yeah, and then 72, he teams up with the Fantastic Four against this segregationist, racist nation next to Wakanda.
Whoa!
And there's a lot of perhaps whoever was doing it at the time had a fear that it was being linked to all of the civil rights going on. And so he says, oh, I'm now the Black Leopard in the comic. and lays out because his name has political connotations and he's going to do what he wants.
Mm.
And so they just put it right on the nose.
Mhm.
Although he changes his name back 9 months later in the comic and saying, "Well, I just did what I wanted and now I'm back to being this." And it still doesn't have political connotations. But interesting
It's
that
like Snoop Dogg saying he was gonna go by the lion or something. I can't remember
for
what he.
for yeah,
There was
before
like a
political
month
I don't
there.
know.
Yeah, there was like a month where he was, "This is my new name," and I saw it like once or twice printed, or maybe, and then now it's back to Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, but this is fearful white comic book writers, worried
God.
about the backlash of what's going on.
Squirming.
Yeah. So that's an interesting bit. And then, as I said, he gets his own stuff, and this is where Killmonger is introduced, which is the primary antagonist of the first one. So
Mhm.
he's been in the game, integrated into the Black Panther mythos for a while, and just won't belabor all the ups and downs with miniseries, updated series. But 98, Christopher Priest is the biggest a reinvention of it, and really makes Wakanda this living, breathing place, not just the backstory or Black Panther is tagging along on other adventures or leaving Wakanda.
Okay, okay.
And so 98,
The
Christopher
world
Priest,
building is really, attempted in
very
'98.
much. Very much. And this is also in the midst of Marvel's collapse in the late 90s. And so, in a way, he can kind of write whatever he wants. And there's not a lot of
Well, you can't stop me.
judging him because they're just trying to get anything.
This is the time frame, and this is what I'm turning in, and, you can't
Yeah.
stop.
Stop me. Yeah, yeah. And that leads perfectly into the 90s when the film stuff is also coming to bear. Just as a little tag, Ryan Coogler didn't get on this until later, but as some of what he's done, we covered two of the things. So he did Fruitvale Station in
Mhm.
2013, and then that got him onto Creed.
Exploded.
Michael B. Jordan, yeah, as
Yes.
collaborator and interest. And then Ryan Coogler was co-producer of Judas and the Black Messiah and
Yes.
also Space Jam 2.
Whoa, I forgot
Yeah.
that one. Oh, no.
So he made his way into bigger uh
I hope
less
he alone is
yeah.
responsible for the Bugs Bunny death.
Yeah, probably the emotional sentiment, which we love so much. Yeah, but the original film idea does not concern him. It concerns Wesley Snipes in '92,
Oh,
which
Lord. No,
yeah,
no. So it was Blade or Black Panther, huh?
yeah before Blade even, but this definitely laid the roadmap for that. But he was
Right.
more interested. He said, "I want to go with this because this is presenting Africa not in a way that's ever been presented." As I said, late 90s, Marvel is declaring bankruptcy in 96, and they have had failures. Howard the Duck, Punisher, a Fantastic Four movie that never even came out. And so Wesley
God, yeah.
Snipes says, "Let me take this."
I had a boss that worked on that, actually.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah,
the
yeah.
yeah.
The Fantastic Four one that got
Yeah,
canceled,
yeah.
and that came up actually when the Batman movie got canceled earlier this year, and people
Uh-huh.
were up in arms, and a lot of people like stood up and like, yeah, it's happened before. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
things can get made and just never see the light of day. It does happen. It can happen. It's incredibly rare, but it can happen.
Yeah. And so Wesley Snipes is seeing all of that and saying, well, we can do something different with this. The first trouble comes when trying to present it and convince people that it isn't some 1960s civil rights thing, because
Mm-hmm.
that's what people know
Mm-hmm.
Black Panther as. Columbia eventually buys it, and it did go through several script iterations. John Singleton was talking to Wesley Snipes. He's a more up and coming
John
director in this time.
Singleton. Yeah.
But he also has his take on it and wants it to be more about the civil rights movement and kind of take T'Challa to America or
Oh
to the
no.
civil rights field, and
Oh
really
no.
not getting Wesley Snipes' vision, which is no, we're trying to do an Afrofuturist, high-tech Africa, anti-colonial thing, not a civil rights thing. And so it just never got anywhere. Uh,
I see.
yeah, with the film stuff. But like I said, the more modern take in 98 in the comics created a resurgence for the character. And so that bolstered Black Panther's image and
I
kept
see.
kept him
Yes.
alive
Yes.
through the 90s. And then as the Marvel films actually take off with X-Men, Spider-Man, Blade, they're interested in as early as 2005. Paramount Pictures gets the deal.
Mm,
But then this stalls through 2007 with the second Fantastic Four movie not doing so well. And then in
writer's strike.
2009, yeah, right, Strike Two, yeah. 2009, Wesley Snipes is convicted for tax conspiracy and fraud and
Oop,
spends 3 years in prison. So
oopsie.
he's off of it. So all of that goes away.
That was
And
yeah. Okay,
yeah,
starting to explain it away.
yeah,
Big
just
chunks of time there, being like, well, they were gonna, and then that, and then obviously that, and then yeah, that.
yeah. And so 2011, there is a script by Mark Bailey, who is a documentary filmmaker. And funnily enough, he did that Boeing documentary that you liked. We talked about
Oh
it off.
yes,
But that's like
it's
the most
one of
recent
my
thing that he's
favorite
done.
movies this year. Boeing. I recommend it to everybody. Go check out the Boeing documentary. It's one of the best. It's incredible. It's incredible.
He, of all things, he's a, like purely documentary filmmaker, but somehow Kevin Feige pulled him to take a pass at it. Eventually, cast is announced in 2014. Chadwick Boseman is on, and they grab Ava DuVernay to direct.
Oh yes, okay.
She passes on it, doesn't like the way that it's going,
Hmm.
and Coogler is on because Creed does well that year.
Yeah,
And
makes
so
sense. Finally, some traction.
finally some traction, yeah. And so
So
he's interested
what
because
is it
also,
about Coogler
yeah,
that's able to break through? Because you have all this talent coming in and out. They say, I don't really like the way it's going in here. Bye. And then Coogler
yeah.
comes in and says, well, this is the way I want to do it, and this is the way he does it. And then you finally have Black Panther. So what is it about Ryan Coogler finally gets this cat room of executives walking in the right direction?
I think it's because he brings all of his own people, and that's why it feels
Right.
slightly different and has
A
its
lot
own
more
thing. And so his
homey. Yeah.
cinematographer, yeah, Rachel Morrison, the production designer, Hannah Beachler, the composer, Ludwig Göransson, also his editor, Michael Schaffner, has been his editor. And then Debbie Berman comes in because he likes to have a male and female editor both on his films, which I find interesting to have
Fascinating. Yeah.
what one person sees that another person doesn't in relation to
Absolutely. That's
that
interesting.
aspect. So super cool. So I think I don't know if that's the reason, but he does take everybody with him, and so you kind of get a unified vision, or things not
Yeah.
being as fractured.
Sometimes some people just make sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Sometimes they can just convey an idea and it's like, well, we're gonna do it like this because that. Oh.
yeah, yeah. And so that's where, and then him pulling from African influences, but specifically with the Black Panther stuff too. Ta-Nehisi Coates did a run on the comic in 2016, really influenced
Mm,
Coogler.
yeah.
So things related to the property are also
Yeah.
happening in the
Okay.
midst of this. And it's super interesting because Coates was a national correspondent for The Atlantic and written for many other magazines and papers related to politics, race, America,
Hmm.
nonfiction stuff. Won the National Nonfiction Book Award in 2015 and the MacArthur Genius Grant.
Wow.
Interesting that he is then doing a comic book,
Yeah.
but it relates to what he's reporting on and interested in. So that was also, I think, a catalyst for, oh, here's a strong vision to go off of
Yes.
and
Yes.
strong collaborators.
I guess a lot of it is just being undeniable. You coming
Yeah,
in
yeah.
with your references and your reasons and your sources. There's not a lot to argue if you can prove your case.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And maybe Marvel is seeing the writing on the wall, looking for something. They're like, finally, we have a vision for this
Right.
that everybody wants to get behind. As we go into talking about the newer one just for a second,
Hmm.
there was a post-credit scene that Ryan Coogler pitched, which had Namor, who is the central antagonist of this new
Mm.
one.
Hmm.
It would have ended the first one with his wet footprints leading to the Wakandan throne. Uh,
Oh my god.
there were rights issues with that character, so he could not join the Marvel universe
Oh
just
no.
yet. But that
Red
was all
tape
in
holding
play.
him back.
It wasn't like, "Oh, no, what are we gonna do?" That was always
Right.
going to be the idea leading into the second
Yeah,
one.
I had read that they had the full script, and that some of the last conversations that Coogler had with Chadwick were about reading the draft,
Oh, yeah?
and at that point, Chadwick said that he did not want to get in the way before the studio had their say, which in retrospect is obvious cover for what he was in the midst of, but
Yeah.
yeah, so from what I understood, they had an entire draft, an entire direction. This antagonist is in place. I mean, and there's a considerable amount of Wakanda Forever that seems to be still very much alive in this original draft that involved T'Challa, because they're from what I understood, it's dealing with the snap and him being gone
Yeah.
for a considerable amount of time anyway, and the fallout of all of that. So much of the plot is still relevant. So it's much less of a massive pivot than I think it seems on the outset, because a lot of the core ideals were still there and still relevant from the get-go. That was part of the inception of it to begin with.
Exactly, you're exactly right. Yeah, there's the thematic of grieving. In the original, it would be his loss of
Right.
time, and in
Right.
this one, it's himself.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
yeah, and they quickly said, "We're not gonna do a digital double situation because we're seeing this so much more now, and especially with AI and deep fakes and everything else." But they said straight away, "We're not gonna do that."
Yeah, I don't,
Uh,
you know, I don't think you can have this movie without him being the focus if he's around, he's the focus. And I don't think that we're to the point where one of these things can carry a full movie in the lead. That day might come, but we're absolutely not there yet. And it would have been a complete fool's errand, uncanny valley attempt to try that. It's a hard, you're stuck in a hard place, and I see a lot of people online are talking about they should have recast him, and I think it's 50-50. I don't know, there's not really a good option here. Like, from what I understand now, looking at the story, I'm like, well, the story's not that much, it's not that much different. It is different considerably, but it's
yeah.
pretty interesting to look at it from the perspective now of it having been out, and to see all the reactions, because I don't know what else you do. you know
Yeah, and it's also not something that's so outlandish. People are like, "How could they do this? How could they change who Black Panther is and whatnot?" And the
I'm like, they could have recast him, I guess.
reference,
I would have been fine with that, but like at the
yeah,
same time, there are obvious reasons for why they don't want to do that.
yeah.
Um,
Well, also
so
because the
what do you
Black
do?
Panther, yeah. Well, even just in the reference material, it's like the Black Panther mantle passes on. The
Right.
storyline that they're pulling is from a comic book run in 2010, where T'Challa goes into a coma, and Namor is approaching, seeking to recruit, and Shuri becomes the new one. So it's like
Yeah, 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 yeah.
this is already in the comics 10 plus years ago.
Yeah,
Uh,
so I mean, look, much of the plot is already intact when they realize they have to do this massive pivot. So they pull from the source material already. Yes, it's a different context, and
yeah,
then when she takes it, he's just recovering for a short period of time. The point is different there. The point goes back to, well, T'Challa is not Black Panther forever. Black Panther is not T'Challa. T'Challa is not Black Panther.
yeah,
Those are two separate entities that coexist for a period of time.
yeah, yeah. So it's not a huge leap, but still a challenge for sure.
Again, knowing that so much of this was already in place, and then they pull the pivot right out of the comic book. Namor's always the antagonist. So
Yeah.
how did that change?
Maybe some people know this, but in the comic, it's all Greek influence, the
Mm,
Greek
mm.
deities, and Atlantis in the Mediterranean. But in this, they move it to Mesoamerica, which is not anything to
Oh,
do with the comics.
interesting.
But then
Okay.
there was some speculation that there was a lost Mesoamerican
Is there
city as
really?
well. Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, it's an interesting take. They also, from a pure business standpoint, it's like you don't want to confuse it with Aquaman. So
Ah, yes.
you know, yeah, you gotta make it really
Yep.
distinct. Um, but yeah, kind of like I think I teed it up at the beginning here, but the movies are known for the real life African influence, and now with this Mesoamerican influence, I was trying to see what they pulled for Wakanda, both the name and the place and all of that,
Yeah.
and I found yeah.
Yeah. So a geography? You found a geography?
Well, a geography, some language stuff, and then yeah, some future plans here
I
going
don't
forward.
like it.
Well, you might. I don't know. We'll see.
No, I'm
So
just kidding.
the name is also tied to Native American stuff, which I didn't realize. There is
Hmm.
a god in the Sioux tribe, which is the predator one. Correct?
Oh, yes. Okay. Yes, from our Prey episode.
Yeah. And this god didn't even have a gendered. It was more about this, and I'm going to butcher all this, but kind of this sacred place or all around everything kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
entity. And so the name was a popular summer camp name in the Midwest, like Camp Wakanda,
Oh,
which I guess is I mean, it's not treated with any sort of reverence in that context, but maybe that's where Stan Lee or Jack Kirby or whoever the heck pulled it from. That's probably what they pulled it
they
from. They did,
probably sent their kids there to get rid of him for 2
yeah,
weeks in the middle
yeah,
of trying to come up with 30 characters to outdo each other.
yeah. And so it's not a it's not an. I mean,
It's
it
not
could
an
be an African thing.
African. It's no,
Well, and
it's
it's
pulled
also
off of a summer camp.
well, and it's such a ubiquity. I didn't realize this, but in Ghostbusters, Dan Aykroyd says,
No.
"Oh, that's the memory of the Stay Puffed Marshmallow. He went to summer camp at Camp Wakanda." He says
No.
that in the movie. Yeah.
Oh no. Oh no.
So it is like that ubiquitous that it's like, oh, there's a million of these summer camps that were named this.
Wow.
Um,
This is a
so
random summer camp.
yeah, probably. Who knows where they pulled it from? But there, there is some African influence. There, the Kenyan Kamba ethnic group is also called Akamba or Wakamba.
Okay.
So there is something closely related to it. And then in the Bantu Kikongo language, Kanda means family. But like I said,
Mm.
surely Stanley and Jack Kirby had no understanding of that when they just throw out
That's fine.
anything. Yeah. Ryan Coogler, though, here's some of the geography stuff, was inspired. He took trips to various countries in Africa. There is a southern African kingdom of Lesotho, which geography nerds know as the landlocked one within South Africa. When you
Hmm.
look, it's a little dot inside the country of South Africa.
Oh wow.
And 2 million population, and their traditional
Wow.
blankets are all over the original film. That's a direct
Wow.
cultural influence, but sort of the Wakandan isolationist independent influence. They're able to keep their independence since '66. Ironically, when the original Black Panther was created,
What?
and a large part of it is due to the geography. They are super high up in the mountains. They are in the highest mountain range in southern Africa. And a
Wow.
little factoid is that this country has the highest low point of any country in the world. The
Oh
lowest
my
point is
gosh.
1,400 meters above sea level. And so that's how they're able
Oh.
to remain not affected by everything else in the world.
One man's high point is another man's low point.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh my
So I,
gosh.
I had briefly as a factoid heard that name of that country, but
I
very
love
interesting
this. I
that it
love this
does.
wonderful pulling, just letting the real world and real stories, real
Mhm.
places, real cultures inspire you and lead you. That's where, then in the face, in the ball face of creation, it's limitless options, and that can be really paralyzing and scary. And oh no, listen to yourself and listen to the things around you and start asking yourself those questions of what led to this, they've got something interesting going on here, that's an interesting idea, I would like to see more of that. You hold those
Mhm.
things and you can attribute them to your stories, makes them much more rich, much more tactile, much more real.
Yeah.
And this is a perfect example of how that works, how that textured layered story texture, story building,
Yeah.
builds a full world, really comes alive in that way.
Yeah, pulling from the real world as well,
Yeah.
like you're saying. Yeah, the king stuff though. I've heard the name before. Maybe you have Mansa Musa, the emperor
Hmm.
of Mali from the 1300s. So
Lord.
medieval African history, and unequivocally the wealthiest person in history.
Wow, really?
Across the board. Yeah,
Jeffrey Bezos.
yeah. So there's a great. It was popular, I guess, in high school. I feel like, but then they have never stopped the epic rap battles of history.
Yes, yes.
They recently did one, Mansa
Oh,
Musa
no.
versus Jeff Bezos, and the
Yeah.
it's so good, so good.
No
Like I was
way.
like, oh, this doesn't matter at all anymore. But I watched it recently. I was like, oh, this is amazing. Like
Oh my
even
gosh.
just Mansa Musa's rap, like just the lyrics, the cadence, the everything
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
is
I'm
so
gonna
good.
have
So
to
I'll
go
post a
check it
link to
out.
that. It's wonderful. But yeah,
Absolutely.
the biggest thing that he's known for, devout Muslim, went on a Hajj to Mecca in 1324 and
Got to.
took tens of thousands of people with him. Lavish gift giving all along the trail was said to, and who knows how much of this is just puffing him up, but
Like a regular
built
Forrest Gump.
yeah, built a new mosque every Friday
Oh
where he
my
was.
god. Oh my god.
Allegedly,
Okay.
but
I see. Yeah.
what was documented was so much because his wealth came from gold, salt, ivory, and slaves. Gold
No.
specifically was his thing, that it affected the value of gold in Egypt for
Oh my
years thereafter. Like
gosh.
he gave out so much gold that the
You've
value of
ruined the
gold
gold
went down.
industry here. The gold economy is destroyed,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah. I mean, the destroyed, people like to say that because it's funny. I don't know if historically historians are like, well, it wasn't. It was like, no, it's funny enough to say he, how does one
Impacted
person
it.
give out so much gold? Yeah.
Talking about one point of contact that
Yeah.
influences the
Just
entire
on a
market.
trip.
That's
Yeah.
noteworthy. On a trip.
Yeah. So that's fun with the
Incredible.
real life. The modern day real life stuff related to Wakanda. The country of Senegal gave 2,000 acres to investors for building a futuristic tech city for members of the African diaspora, and it's, I mean, got tons of plans. It's going to have a hospital and police and run on solar power and use cryptocurrency,
Wow.
and uh $6 billion investment has been created for this through non-disclosure. We don't even know who has invested in
Whoa.
this. Supposed to start building next year, and the
Wow.
kicker of all of this, it is entirely created by Akon, the
What?
singer.
Oh, no way.
He's from Senegal. It's going to be called Akon City.
Oh
It's
my
going to
god.
use
Oh, are
his
you kidding?
cryptocurrency Acoin. I kid you not. This is the craziest thing that I
Oh
heard about this
my.
week.
He has got his own city, who uses his
and
own country or your
and somehow,
currency.
yeah,
I
and somehow got $6 billion.
Akon.
Yeah,
I'm like, not Beyonce, like, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah,
what?
yeah.
'Cause this is,
It's the real deal. It's like
I can't wait to go to Dolph Lundgren's country. I can't,
yeah.
I can't wait. Oh my god, this is bizarre.
But I mean,
This
he
is
also
gonna.
has invested tons in solar power. I think, his not, maybe not charity, but whatever it is,
Oh
in
man,
25 different African countries. Like it's not a silly joke. It's not a Fire Festival thing. I
that's
mean,
I
I
was
don't know
just
if they
about to. I
haven't.
was like, Ja Rule
Yeah.
can't run a festival.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know if Akon can run a whole country. This is
Yeah.
this is barking up the tree of a whole nationality almost. This is
Yeah.
incredible.
And some
Oh my
people are saying,
god.
because, oh, well, it hasn't even started breaking ground or this or that, that it
Yeah.
is not actually going to be a thing. But the fact is that
District
it's been
9.
developed for years, and it's wild.
Elysium.
So I hope,
It's
yeah,
gonna be
I hope,
some,
I hope that it does come to pass, because it'd be amazing to see. Oh, you can just from
yeah.
the ground up build a modern city sustainable energy and
Yes, we need.
a
Oh
new
yeah,
currency and a new government system and
I would love to
infrastructure and everything.
have a shining example on a hill of a society that works.
Right.
I that's funny, but I'm talking about a society, a modern society that is, investing in and utilizing modern tools and technologies to make a more clean and sustainable
Yeah.
society. I think that's really fascinating. If we can have an example of seeing all these things put to work and see it actually thrive and exist, then we would know it's possible in our own backyard. We need these examples. We need these examples for the future. And
Yeah.
I worry we're starting to look much, much, much more inward for the first time since we've really had the gusto of
Yeah.
the industrial revolution behind us.
Yeah. It's like, it seems like a joke because it's Akon, but it's like, why not?
Why not?
Uh,
Why not? Trump was
yeah,
president.
Zelensky,
Why not?
yeah,
Why
and
not?
Zelensky, the comedian, is the
Is
fighting back
waging
against,
war, is a war torn
leader, yeah, on the
is,
front lines. It doesn't seem,
yeah, why
there's so
not?
much that doesn't seem
Why
real.
not? Oh my god. I love it. Why
Yeah.
not? Incredible work, Taylor. I can't thank you enough. Thank you guys for sticking with us this week. If you're listening to this right now, seriously, it means the world. Hey, reach out to us. You never know. We might talk right back. Let us know what you were reading. Let us know what you're watching. Let us know what you're excited for over the holidays. A lot of stuff coming out. A lot of new releases. This is the golden age right now. We're getting all the fun stuff. All of the award stuff is starting to come out. So, hey, get in touch with us. Let us know what you want to see.
That's at IlliteratePod on Instagram or illiteratepod@gmail.com.
And you never know, we might hit you up with that episode you've been dying for. Until then, stay safe, and we will catch you back here next Friday.